reality is not what we think it is, and depending on who you are and your choices and what you do and what you're supposed to do, there is a split happening. So there is no. It's about every single one of us. Right now, it's about our choices, not what's happening outside, because there are. In the next few years, maybe I will watch this interview in a few years and say it was completely wrong. But I think in the next few years, there are going to be a lot of things happening. Things are going to change a lot and very deeply. But it doesn't matter. What will matter is what we will do, every single one of us, and how we will be internally. It's like a wave, coming at you. The wave can crush you, or the strength of the wave can help you.
Hi, everyone. If you're interested in stories about near-death experiences and other spiritually transformative experiences, I'm sure you've come across one or several of Anthony Chene's beautiful videos about these things, where he interviews people who have had these experiences. Welcome to the show, Anthony.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Well, it's really my pleasure. Or is it Antoine, actually?
No. It's and in French it's Anthony, but Anthony in English or whatever.
Okay.
But it's my real name, yes.
That's good.
I have an American name.
You have an American name from the beginning, but your last name is Chene. It's not Cheney, as some people
it's Chene.
Call you. So that's good. So your films are, most people probably come across them on YouTube. I think there are on some other platforms as well, but YouTube is the big one, and they are truly wonderful to watch and to listen to. Also, of course, and you're a humble director because you don't feature in them yourself.
Yes.
And was that self-evident? Was that natural for you to do it like that from the onset?
Yes. I started in French. I have a French YouTube channel, and it's the same concept. It's and sorry for my English, by the way. I'm losing my English every month, it seems, right now. But it's I don't want to appear, because I don't like. How can I put it in the words? I don't like myself. Maybe, I don't know. I don't like to see myself and to hear my voice. I just hate it. So I don't know. So it was natural for me to cut me out of my own videos. And in English, it's also a good thing, because people don't notice that I'm French, so it's better for them to understand the NDE and the video.
Mm.
They don't get caught by my French accent and everything.
Yeah, but I think it's a much smaller problem, a lesser problem than you think it is, because especially I think the American audience is very used to hearing all kinds of accents, because it's a country of consists of immigrants anyway. So
yes, and also it's a problem for me, because most people, since I'm never in my own videos, they forget I exist, basically. And so it's then when I ask for donations or everything, because I do everything myself, I don't have any sponsor or anything, so people tend to forget that I exist, so it's I got trapped in my own thing, But
yeah, I understand. Well, I think it's likable. It's likable that you don't appear in your videos in many ways, because it puts the focus on the person who's interviewed, or the persons who are interviewed, and the story and the narrative around whatever theme that you're investigating. Maybe more of us should work in that way.
No, I think as long as people ask good questions and it's a good interview, it doesn't matter if you want to appear or not to ask the questions. Some people they just want to. It seems they just want to appear, and you don't really know why. So it's strange.
Yeah.
Because I think most people want to be famous, maybe. deep
Yes.
down. We all want to be a star. So
Yeah, that's a driver for sure. Many people. So, Anthony, um, how did this all start? What compelled you to start making these films? Because I know you've studied journalism and filmmaking and things like that, and you weren't always making these kinds of films.
no, I never did any film school. I never took any class. I did a business school in corporate finance, a pretty good business school actually in France. It's well known, and it was really hard to get into this school. But it was I don't know why I did that. Maybe for my parents, or I don't know. When I was 24, 25, I told myself, long story short, I don't want to. It's I cannot do this kind of jobs. You know, it's too boring. I just cannot do it. So it was a real struggle for a few years, because when I have to tell my parents and everyone that I won't take these jobs in the banking system and everything. And so it was really hard financially also. And it was after 2 or 3 years like that I was started to make videos in Paris and small gigs, as you say in English. That I did, and then I discovered the first NDEs on YouTube. It was in 2012, sorry, 2012, and I got really, it was really a wonder for me. I don't know how to say it. Like, how could I never heard of all this before? You know,
You don't have any background, like, I mean, hearing about spiritual things when you grew up? Or?
No. Nobody in my family. There is no psychic, no nothing. You know, I barely knew what was a psychic, basically. So it was like, but it made sense for me. At first, you know, like
that's interesting, because most people who have had a materialist background, and have been raised in a materialist, physicalist environment, they would probably say that it does not make sense, because they're so used to hearing about everything being explained by the brain and the physics and things like that. But you, it was kind of it clicked within you when you heard about these NDE stories.
Yes, because it was this world that wasn't making sense for me, you know. Even if I wasn't a psychic or anything, I was a little depressed because I didn't want to work in finance, and I was not making I was barely making any money, and it was, it's harder. Like, I was 26, 27 in Paris at the time. I didn't fit anywhere, basically. So it was and I didn't like really this world, and when I heard about these NDEs and all these things, I got the intuition that this world, this 3D world we experience with the 5 senses, that's not the whole reality, but just a very tiny part. And there are other dimensions beyond our 5 senses, and it makes sense. Of course, it's the way it is. Of course, it's the way it is. Of course. And
that sounds almost like an epiphany or something for you.
Yes, and I already told this in other interviews, so maybe I'm repeating myself, but then I remember at that time when I was 27, 28, that when I was a child, I already got all these insights when I was very little. I clearly remember it, having a universe in my mind, I was picturing myself like a huge universe in my mind, and I was looking at people thinking that every grown up, had their own universe in their own mind, and I was picturing something on me and on everyone, like a purple thing on the chest, and I was telling people when I was a child that God was not someone, but every human being could become God by activating something within.
Did you say that to your friends when you were a child?
I don't remember to who it was, but I clearly remember saying it and thinking it, and I was writing novels also. since I was 10, 11, science fiction novels about a whole civilization that got wiped, the memory got wiped out. The people didn't have their own memory. And there were two guys coming to this very high advanced civilization, infiltrating this high-end civilization to bring back the memory to these people. You know, it was a big, big novel I wrote, and several others. So I always got this passion. I don't know how to say it in English. You know, and I think
had this insight, this notion, and
yes.
This is really fascinating, because as you're telling it now, it seems as if when this shift happened in your life when you were 26, 27 or something, it's like you had a remembrance. It came back to you because it was always in there. So
Yes.
I mean, even if your parents weren't spiritual or anything, you were that yourself, and you had, because that's I really am so fascinated by children and how children see the world, especially small children. I think we are actually born into this world with a complete setup of insight into what we actually are, and then we gradually are taken out of it. We forget it because this society, this environment is kind of, you know, wanting us to get out of that and stress the fact that, or the fact, I mean, the three-dimensional fact that we are separate and there is time and all those things, which is not natural to a young child. Would you agree?
Yes, we have to fit somehow, and I think we forget a lot of insights we have, yes, as children. I think it's the same for everyone. But I think the thing for me is that I couldn't go back to my old, I don't know, business school stuff and the jobs, and all the friends I had were doing jobs that I just couldn't do. And I was really sad about it. You know, it was like a big failure for me at the time. You know, like I want to be like everyone else, basically. I want to fit in, but I just couldn't. It's it's not a good feeling at all. And even now I have it. I have this feeling. You know?
Yeah, some people talk about changing your timeline and also going through the dark night of the soul. It might be regarding relationships with people, but it can also be regarding what you're supposed to do in life, and you kind of say goodbye to an old life. It's like this is a bit maybe over dramatic to talk about a rebirth, but it sounds a little bit like that.
That's the title of the latest documentary I did, Renaissance. It means rebirth in English. So that, and I did the same kind of title, but it was not an NDE documentary. But I did the same kind of title in a French documentary that was quite successful also a few years ago. So yes, it's a rebirth. Yes, it's
okay.
It's the burning the boats also. You know, you say maybe in English. You know, you cannot go back.
Say again, please.
Burning the boat. You know, you cannot go back. You have to stay. And that was my idea also. I told myself, no step back from now. That's what I told myself. I'll die right now. I'll go bankrupt. I'll do anything I have to do, but no step back. I'll just, it's either this or I collapse.
What a good choice you made there. I must say.
And yeah, but
did you start making these films then? I mean, I misunderstood I think something you wrote on your website that you had some kind of media training or something, but you started making videos in other topics first, or?
Yes. What I did 6 months in a business school. At the end of my business school, I did 6 months in another business school to study audiovisual production. Is it right in English?
Yeah, audiovisual.
Yeah. So that's the only thing I did, but it was not about directing anything. It was just about how the media work, and so that's it. But I wanted to make a film school, but it was at the time it was expensive, and I already did a business school, and I had a student loan, you know. So so I never did a film school.
Okay, but And you began making movies, films, videos in French, I suppose, and then you.
Yes.
At what stage did you realize that you should maybe do them in English as well?
Well, it's a long story, but to make it short, I already did exchange programs and internships in the US with my business school. I had to go abroad, for my to graduate, and I found an internship in the Bay Area at first for 5 months, and then I did an exchange program in Florida at the end of my business school. So I knew the US pretty well when I graduated. And I always loved San Francisco, the West Coast, the ocean. I really loved the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to go back. I wanted to go back when I could. And when I did this video in French, that's the weird thing. I always had this intuition, this thing in me. I don't hear voices, but it was a strong idea and dreams and a lot of synchronicities, like go back there, make videos in English, do it in English all the time. And so that's what I did eventually. And I still don't really get it why I have to do it in English, because I'm French. So sometimes I ask my, my guides or my, how do you say, or God even, like, why am I not like, I don't even have a working visa, I have to do everything from France, and it doesn't make any sense even now, but I just have to trust, at some point. But it's yeah.
So, but you reach a larger audience if you do this in English, don't you think? Or maybe you would be able to reach as large an audience only in French. I'm not sure. I mean, but France is not as widely spoken.
Yes, and also sometimes it's harder in French because it's a little bit more open in English, in the English-speaking countries, these kind of topics,
Is it easier to find people who want to talk about it, to find guests in
French
the
people?
US?
But it's not a good thing to talk about it publicly in France, at least until now. Maybe it's changing a little right now, but it's...
Why do you think that is? What is there a culture difference between, for instance, the United States and France and Europe in general, perhaps?
I don't know about Europe, but in France, I think it's about Paris. I live in the south of France, and in the south of France, we had a lot of history about spirituality. We had a lot of stuff from the popes, even in my own city.
The Cathars in Languedoc, for instance. Yeah.
So in the south, it's a little bit more spiritual and open. But if you go to Paris and to work in Paris, it's all about the analytical mind, and you have to be serious and talk about serious stuff. And it's not a good thing at all to talk about this. So, and it's still present today.
Is it the fault of the French Revolution even?
Yes. It's the whole French history, but it's going to change, and it's already changing, I think, because I started like 10 years ago in France, a little bit more than 10 years ago, and now it's much more open, but it's still not very. It's not very open. It's not the same than the US or even I think the UK or other countries. It's less
interesting.
Open here.
Yeah, I think you're right. And France is very interesting because it's like this after the French Revolution. French politicians and French leaders and policymakers, they're adamant that they're going to keep religion away from government. And I mean, I used to think that that's a good thing, but I think now it's maybe not as wise as I once thought it was, or at least. It's not a good thing to keep spirituality away from government, but religion is maybe a different matter. But it's interesting that in France, I think it's forbidden to have religious symbols in schools, for instance, or in any public place, and you can get you can be fined for having crucifixes in public places and things like that, which is, I think, unique in the world, maybe.
Yes, and I don't want to be I don't want to fight against anything, and I think I don't even have to talk about Jesus or religion or anything. You can just talk about the ideas, you know.
Yeah,
Uh,
I agree.
it's not about it's not about dividing people against each other. It's who we are, you know. We are what we are. So
Exactly.
we just forgot who we are, you know. But it's still there. We cannot be anything else. So of course it's coming back in another way because that's the way it is, you know.
Yeah.
So even in France.
So before we dive more into the discussion about who we actually are as human beings, more interested in what how these videos came about and how they developed. So the themes are, I mean, we don't have to go into all the details about what you did, what you made, what kind of movies you made at first there, but the themes are they all things spiritual, or is it mainly NDEs and out of body experiences and that kind of stuff, or is it like all things spiritual that you dive into when you make these videos?
Yes, it's not just NDEs, and in French it was. I had just a few videos about NDEs, and at first for my US, for my English speaking channel, I wanted to make videos about a lot of things, not just NDEs. But it seems like people they really like NDEs, and they think I only do NDEs. So now it's almost true because it's I do a lot of NDEs. But if you look at the first 10 or 15 videos in my channel, Anthony Chene, on YouTube, it's not only NDEs. So I don't know.
So what about like ancient myths and lost civilizations, which is a big topic,
Yes.
big theme on YouTube? Are you also diving into those kinds of topics?
In English, maybe I did one or two, but it's mainly in French. Yes, I did a lot of videos about this, about the Atlantis, about Egypt, the pyramids, and everything.
Have you been there?
No, no, but it's yeah, history is. The more I study history, the more I begin to realize that it's made up. There
The
is
story that we're
a
told in school, yeah.
yeah, there is a heavy editing of the official history, I think.
Yeah.
Even like 200 years ago, not just like the pyramids, but even 200 years ago, if you go to Paris, if you go to even American cities or other European cities, and you look at buildings, some buildings, and it's not. I don't think it's the it was not built when and how we are told. But it's I never did a topic like this in US in the US in English.
Okay, so you mean even the time that is that certain buildings are said to have been built could be
Well,
wrong, even that close in history. I mean, it's really not that difficult to find out, is it? I mean, if you look into
well,
documents and stuff like that, you would find the exact date of the building of the tower or whatever.
no. Well, I'm not an expert, and I didn't think we would talk about this, but it's I really like this as well. But in English, it's harder for me to convey my ideas. So sorry, but I'll do my best. If you look at the state capitals in the US, Iowa, San Francisco, in West Virginia, even in poor states like West Virginia, you see these very beautiful, roofs and everything.
Mm.
Who built this and when? You know, why did they need to build stuff like this everywhere in the US? And when did they build this? You know, at a time where there were only people with horses and small, wooden houses. You know, so anyway, it's the past is is different than what we think it is, I think.
Definitely.
And it's it's a long. I don't know everything about it, so I cannot
but I'm
talk
also
about it for long because I don't know
I'm
everything.
fascinated by this topic as well. As you might have seen on my channel, I have quite a few videos about or episodes about lost civilizations and different theories about Atlantis and things like that.
Yes.
And so I think there's a lot to be uncovered in the years to come there, and hopefully they will find some new sites which will tell us more about it. And also dreaming of the possibility that they might be able to date stone in some way, which would reveal so much, and it would be so difficult for the mainstream, debunkers to reject the idea that, for instance, structures in Peru and Egypt and Lebanon were constructed much earlier than we are told in school. Because it's a problem that we can't date stone. We can only date, organic material with a carbon dating method.
Yes, and it's part of not knowing who we are, not knowing the history, the human history. Because some people say, well, whatever, we don't care, now we're here. But we have to know where we come from also, because otherwise it's really hard.
Yeah, why are we here? I mean, it's a scandal that we don't know where we come from. It's scandalous. Yeah. It's terrible. And I think it's so strange that people don't really care, because, I mean, you don't know what you are, who you are, why you're here, where you came from. You have no idea, and you don't care.
Yeah, basically, we don't know who we are and where we are. So it's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. So your latest film here now, this long documentary called Rebirth or Renaissance or Renaissance. It covers. I mean, as you said, it looks to the outsider, it looks almost as if you only make videos about NDEs, but you have explained that you don't. But this one is about NDEs, and it covers pretty much the whole spectrum of the near-death experience phenomenon, and it features 3 NDE experiencers and 3 researchers, whereof one also has had an NDE experience, and I've had a couple of them on my show as well. Not the experiences, but the experts. Pim van Lommel and Eben Alexander have been on my show.
I always tell people that people with NDE have been my teachers. They have learned me that death is not the end.
And so if you know going in that any day, my parents are getting older, any day I could get a call that I've lost one of my parents. I know that is eventually coming. We all have an expiration date. And so when it comes, because I know that and I'm facing that reality, yes, it's going to be difficult, but I'm not going to be totally knocked flat by it. And we'll get through it, and we'll somehow be better on the other side.
So how did you choose those participants? I mean, it's a brilliant film. Everybody should see it if they have the chance. But how did you choose those participants? Why did you opt for those 6 people here?
Yeah, it's hard to choose because you have there are a lot of really, really good NDE accounts, and there are also a lot of good experts in this field. So I did my best to, and also when I build something like this, it's strange because like people appear when I need them, It's often like that,
Synchronicities, yeah.
Yes, so it's like something sometimes is guiding me to, because it's things just appear, people come and go, and so when I think I have the right people, I just start making the project, and usually it's a good thing. And I wanted to make to summarize what I learned about NDEs in this documentary. So I wanted to do a big summary, basically.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, I've seen quite a few of your earlier videos on this topic, but this one summarizes it all, and it's really good. And you're good at editing and making it, nice to watch as well.
It's a lot of work. It's so exhausting, especially in English, for me, because it's not my first language. So I have to be more focused when I do the editing in English. So this one took me like 5 months or 6 months of editing alone.
Yeah.
It's very boring. The editing process is very lonely and boring.
But you can, I mean, people can't really understand how much work it is. I mean, I don't know, I don't do by far as much work with my editing as you do, or as you've done with that documentary, but it takes a lot of time. People don't realize that.
No, and it's you don't see the work at the end. If it's a good editing, you don't notice the editing.
Exactly, you don't see the cuts or anything. It's just smooth.
After this happened to me, I was praying so hard and so heavy every day to please let me back in heaven. To please let me back in heaven. And every single time, the answer would come. I know this is going to be hard, Vinny, but it's going to be worth it. And about 8 weeks after my experience, I met a real angel. I met my wife. And she helped me on my transition of the old me to becoming the new me.
This is not just about meditating and thinking peaceful, loving thoughts. It's about living the life in this daily activity that helps to take the world to a much better place based on what we learn from these notions of oneness, that we're really here to take care of the least, the last, the lost. We really need to take better charge of this planet, and that's what the awakening is all about. But the good news is that any individual can use centering prayer, meditation. These are modes of going within, connecting with that higher soul, with that primordial mind, with that sense of love and peace and compassion for our fellow beings. And then we bring it into our world in our daily activities, but also taking the action. It's putting idealism and mind over matter to work to heal this fractured, damaged world.
But I may do other topics in the future, than this, because
if you go to Egypt and film, tell me. I'd like to join you there.
Yes,
I was in Egypt when I was 7 years old, but I mean, I barely remember it. But I really need to.
I think it's forbidden to film in a lot of parts of the Egyptian pyramids. Mm-hmm. You're not allowed to film
unless you have a lot of money, perhaps.
Yes, and so there's nothing to hide, but you don't look for it. But there's nothing to hide. It's this kind of thing. It's weird,
It's weird.
But even in France, in my own country, sometimes I live in France, but it took me a long time to realize that there are a lot of really strange things in France too, southern France. So, and in the US, of course, and in other parts of the world. So yeah, I have a lot of projects in my mind all the time, but it takes me so much time to do.
Yeah, you have to finance it also. You have to. I mean,
and finance it. Yes, and it's so boring for me because I'm not a money guy. I did a business school, but I'm not. I have a really hard time taking interest in money and all this stuff. So it's not a good thing for me because obviously I have to have money to do what I do. But yes, it's not, and it's boring for everyone. On YouTube and on my website to say, I can't finance this thing, but I need money. But also I think that if you do the thing you're supposed to do, the money is at some point comes, I think.
Yeah, this is the fascinating thing. I think you're right. But the tricky part is, and this is talked about by many people in the so-called spiritual community, that if you follow your passion and your heart, and you have the feeling or the sense that you're already there, that it's your reality, you're in that reality, the reality that you want to have, then, as you say, things will fall into place, and you will get the money, and you will meet the right people and all that. But the tricky part is that you should not focus on the outcome, because then you kind of this sounds really woo-woo to people who are not who don't know anything about these things, but you kind of confuse the universe, if that's the right way to putting it.
Yeah.
If you focus too much on a detailed outcome, because then it's not going to happen the way you think it's going to happen. It's going to happen in the way that is the most smooth and perfect way for your higher self or whatever. So you just have to let it be, let it go. Once you have the dream, once you focus on the dream and the general idea of what you want to do in life, then you should just let it go, and then things will fall into place. But what's your experience with this? You mentioned synchronicities before. Has it been like that?
Like right now, I struggle a lot with this in my own life because I have so many signs and synchronicities about coming back, even for a few weeks or months, to the US. It's all the time, in my dreams, everywhere. Even last night, I had a dream about that. It's all the time, every day, I have to go back to the US. And I don't want to, because I'm mad at the universe somehow, It's like, well, that point I stop. I don't want to. It's not fair, I make videos in English. I do everything I can, and I still don't have this and don't have that. So you give me this and that, or I won't go. And that's what I do. I'm not going. But that's not the way it should work, That's I'm resisting.
Yeah.
Because I'm very mental also, I like to know and to understand, but you cannot understand the divine.
No,
at least not 100%. It's not the way.
But I think generally, though, I agree with what you're saying, and I have the same experience. But I think generally, if you feel inside, if you feel in your heart that it's at least it's not resisting you, it's feeling you feel good inside, and you might even have a glow in your chest, your heart when you think about certain things, or when you meet certain people, or when you hear about certain projects, then you're on the right path. So it's all good, and you can't know in detail exactly what is going to happen. But if you have that feeling, if you have that sense, if you have that heartfelt thumbs up, then you can be confident that everything's going to turn out fine.
In 2014, the first time I did a video in English, it was Beyond Our Sight, a small documentary I did in English about NDEs. It was the first one. At first, I went in San Francisco for 3 months. I quit everything in Paris, my apartment, everything, because for months I had this intuition and signs and synchronicities all the time that I had to go to San Francisco. So I said, okay, it wasn't successful for me in Paris. So I said, okay, I'll quit everything. And I wanted to find a job in San Francisco. I never found any job. I never had any working visa, whatever. But since I didn't have a job and I was looking for something, I had time. And that's where in San Francisco I found people, and I did my first small documentary about NDEs, and it was quite successful. And then I launched my US channel like that. So it was not at all what I was planning for. It's really, what can I say?
Well, you mentioned synchronicities, and that's a big thing, I think, in this context.
But they should, I think, the heaven or whatever, the divine, they should be more clear, Why don't you tell stuff like more precisely? It would be easier.
Yeah, I know. Maybe we should arrange a webinar, you and I and God, and let's ask these harsh questions, these critical questions. Why aren't you instructing us more directly and telling us exactly?
Because they're testing us all the time, and we have to show up in faith and not in fear, and that's the way it is.
But I think often when things have happened in a completely different way than you have anticipated, and you are perhaps even a bit mad when it happens, or nervous or whatever, a few years later you can look back and see that was probably the best possible outcome at that point, because now I'm here, and I wouldn't be here if that didn't happen. I mean, this is the case continuously, of course, because there's only the now moment. You and I wouldn't be here if we wouldn't have had the lives that we've had so far behind us. We wouldn't be here talking.
Yes. So we have to trust.
We have to trust the process. So let's talk about your life view now, and we've already touched on it, of course. But having interviewed so many people with experiences at the borderline between life and death, and also so many people who have researched this phenomenon, would you say that there is any chance at all that what these people are experiencing can be tricks by the brain?
No.
Maybe, why don't you think that?
Maybe some people have hallucinations or are just crazy. I don't know, but I think most people who had these NDEs on other out-of-body experiences and mystical experiences, no, it cannot be fake. It cannot be a trick of the brain, because some people are even able to do some out-of-body experience during an NDE or whatever, and they can see and hear what happened and what was said, like in another room or in another town,
And that has been confirmed by
yes, and then it's confirmed.
Third parties.
People could still say, well, it was a lie. You never heard this, but I think and it's NDEs, for instance, they happen in all countries, in all religions throughout history. So it's no, and of course the brain it's really simple. Like, the brain is not creating consciousness. And consciousness, people sometimes they ask me, like, what is consciousness? It's so hard. I think for me, consciousness is really simple. It's just the fact that you know that you exist. If you ask someone, do you exist? People won't say, let me think, or let me feel it. Do I exist? It's just a silly question. Of course I'm here. Of course I exist. I know I exist. That's this feeling, this knowing that you know that you exist, that's consciousness. This knowing is not produced by the brain. It's filtered, it's received by the brain. But it means that when the brain dies, you still have this knowing that you exist. You still exist, because it was not produced by the brain in the first place. So you still exist in another form without the filter of the brain. But you still know that you exist after the physical death. It's that simple for me.
So what are we? What are we? Who are we? What are we beyond our mind and our body? Do you think?
Okay, now the big questions.
Yes.
Yes. What is God? What is God? Who are we? I don't want to go too far. I'm always afraid to go too far in my answers, but I think every single one of us is the whole scene. Every single one of us is the whole universe experiencing itself from a relative viewpoint. That's the oneness idea. There is no the reality I experience and me. There is just me or just the reality, whatever. But me, it's tricky, because me, it's not the me I think I am. It's not the body or the mind right now, my trauma, my backstory. It's not this. It's beyond that. And that divine spark beyond that, the real me, is also this reality. It's the same. It's every single one of us at some point, to some extent, is just projecting this, but not from the conscious mind. I'm not projecting a car right now or a ton of money. It's not it's the real self. The divine spark is projecting this, and it's the same for every single one of us.
So you are your higher self is projecting me right now, and my higher self is projecting you.
Yes,
and we are based on that level. We are actually the same.
Yes. It's the same process than here with a screen. I see you, or people can see me, but I'm not in their screen physically. I exist, but I'm not in the screen. It's the same when you experience people. They exist, but not the way you think you interact with them. We are each and every one of us, we are in our own reality and interacting with other realities. It's not, it's like a screen, like right now, you know. There is a connection, but not the connection we think.
Yeah. So would you subscribe to the theories that this is a simulation of a sort?
Yes, of course. Of course. It's I think that was one of my big intuition when I discovered this a few years ago. It was like, okay, the reality experience is less real than me. We are more real than the reality we experience. So we have power over it. And that explains a lot of things, I think.
Yeah, but, and also those people who you have interviewed who've had near-death experiences, they, I think, basically all of them say that the reality that they enter when they're in that realm is much, much more real than this one.
Yes. 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 It was really interesting for me to hear that at first. It was more real than here. I thought, more real? Like, how can this be more real? So it means that we're in a, I think before we used to say we are in a dream. Now it's a matrix. With the movie Matrix, it was a trend. Now it's the simulation idea, but it's the same than the dream. It's just saying that the reality we experience is not that solid, and the space and time, the space-time reality we're in, is relative. And the fact that I know that I exist, my consciousness, is more real than this space-time reality. And that explains bilocations, you know, that explains a lot of mystical experiences. NDEs, of course, out-of-body experiences. I forgot your question. I completely forgot.
No, but you're answering it, I guess. And I was just making a reflection there. And another reflection would be, as you're saying here, this has been known forever. I mean, if you go back to the ancient Greek, Plato said it very well in his cave allegory, of course, that this is an illusion, a dream, a simulation. And as you say, we're just using different terms, and words for it.
And I think it's the reality. Every single one of us, our reality is is talking to us basically all the time. Signs, synchronicities. I don't know. It's even the law of attraction, things like that. You know, you cannot understand it if you think there is a solid reality outside that is independent from us. I think this reality is talking to us, and yeah, it's like a simulation, but from the higher self, from who we really are. You know, we planned this before, I think. There is a planned simulation with checkpoints we have to go through. And when we're here, we say, yeah, but I cannot change it, I cannot change that. But that's part of the game. You just have to go through it. And it's not about escaping the simulation. You don't have nowhere to escape. It's about going through it because it's an experience you have to go through.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that is kind of the perfect game, isn't it? That where you even forget that you're playing a game.
Yes. And the higher dimensions are here above us, or I don't know where. They are here watching us all the time to see if we still show up in faith no matter what.
Yeah.
But you're not allowed to know for sure that they are here. That's part of the game. You have to show up in faith because otherwise it would be too easy, you know.
That's true. And that's really an interesting insight to have, because that's often the question you get from people who are skeptical. I mean, but why would God not tell us what we actually are? Why would we forget? But it's exactly as you say, I think, that the whole point is that we wouldn't learn anything if we knew exactly why we were here. So that's a question. Why do you think we are in this simulation, in this game, in this stage play? What's the general point of our souls evolving or whatever? What's your view on that?
Yeah, it's. I think it's to slowly, gradually remember who we are, our nature, and so we have to go through these experiences to slowly get it, that our actions have consequences, and that we have a power to do something, to give something, to love, to show up in faith. Or we also have the power, since we create, we also have the power to create with our fears. I don't know if my English is good. Do you still get what I'm
To be
saying?
to be authentic, maybe.
Yes, authentic and
To dare to be ourselves and not to be like we think other people want us to be.
basically, I think it's a very, very, very simple game. We just have to show up in faith, no matter what, and know that these higher dimensions are here for us. And that's who we are. We are already what we are. It's just that we forgot it, so we have to slowly remember it. And we have every right here. We have the right to do crazy stuff, to do stupid things. We have every right, but
We're not going to be punished. We're not going to be punished for that when we die.
No, but we will face the consequences, and we will see after we die, like the life review, that we did it to ourselves in the end. And that's what I thought when I was a child. When someone was mean to me or mean to another person, I told myself it's really stupid because he's doing this to himself. Like it's going to.
You were so wise when you were a kid. I mean, you're wise now as well, but that's amazing.
No, but it was logical, mathematical. I don't know how to say. It's really simple, and that's why we're here. We're here to experience our power of creation. So what did you ask me? Like why we're here? Yes.
Yeah, why we're here. I mean, it's the biggest of questions that you can ask, but you've already answered it, I think, in many ways. So do you think we can, and you said that we are supposed to be here in faith and just trust our higher selves and guides and the divine and everything, but there are signs and synchronicities are a kind of sign. Do you think that we can develop techniques, methods of being better at seeing, listening, noticing these signs that are showing us the way where to go in life?
Well, I think we just have to observe our reality every day. It's really obvious, and I don't know. It's always easier for us to see what other people didn't see, for them than for us. When you look at someone's life, it's obvious for you, what he or she should do. It's like, don't you see? But for us, we don't get it. It's much harder. But
that's why we need each other.
Yes, because it's the same.
That's why every perspective is needed, so to speak.
Yes, there are no others in the end. It's only us.
Yeah, fantastic.
It's and I think if you show up in faith, like if you talk yourself, you want to have good things in your life before you go to bed, just before you fall asleep, and just when you wake up, when you're in between the dream and this reality, when you're starting to wake up, that's when the subconscious is
available.
Is more available. Yes, sorry. That's I think so. That's a very powerful tool, I think.
Yeah.
And for me, what I used to do, but sometimes it's funny because sometimes I forget to do it, but it's like I see my reality as me. Like, if I move my hand, I don't say I will try to move the hand. You just move it. It's you. Same for my reality. Say it's me. So I say in my reality, that's what's happening. And I realized a few years ago that most of the times it works. It's that simple. But then I forgot to do it, and I'm afraid of everything, you know. So
I recognize that. I think I have more or less the same kind of technique, if that's the right word. At least when I'm meditating in the mornings, I kind of have this sense that I'm just, I can sense the body, but it's just one of many items, if you will, in the room. It's the whole room is just me in a way, or the whole universe. Yes. I mean, the moon outside and the houses outside, the trees, the wind blowing, it's all me. And then, okay, yes, I can sense the body, but that's also just one aspect of that me.
Yes, it's not the ego, or I don't know how we can say.
Yeah.
We all want, as we said earlier, we all want to be famous and to have a ton of money, or I don't know what we all want these kind of things, but it's because we fear that people won't love us at some point, you know. People want money and everything, and it's a good thing to have a lot of money, but it's, in the end, it's not the money or the fame we want. It's to be recognized and loved.
I mean, listen to people on their deathbeds, what they say that they regret in life. It's not that they worked too little or that they had too little money. It's not that. It's that they didn't show more love to the people who meant a lot to them in life.
Yes.
Things like that.
Yes, it's. I think it's very simple. Back to the question, why are we here? It's very simple. It's you do what you have to do, and you know what you have to do. Because a lot of people say, well, I don't know what is my life mission, or I don't know, I wish I knew. You just know. Deep down, everybody knows. So you do what you have to do, and you show up in faith. And I should tell that to myself, by the way, because that's what I should do also. But it's very simple.
Yeah.
And but it would be too easy if we could see or sense God or an angel or I don't know what all the time. You know, if my angel was here or God or whatever was here all the time talking to me like you, would be so easy for me. Like, of course I'll do this. Of course I'll do that. Of course I would show up in faith. But that wouldn't be faith. You know, it would be. I would be cheating.
Yes, it would be like cheating, and also it would be very confusing to live in the three-dimensional world if we saw the base reality.
Yeah,
I mean, I've spoken with Bernardo Kastrup, for instance, about this, and he says some fascinating things about this. I mean, there is a base reality. We're in a cockpit with no windows, and we are interpreting the instruments as reality. Which is, I mean, you can perfectly well fly an airplane just by using your instruments, going by your instruments. You don't have to look out the window, actually, but that's what we're doing. And he says that it's the rookie mistake to think that the cockpit instruments are reality. I mean, yes. There is a base reality which looks completely different. But if we were to see that now in this life here on Earth, how things really look beyond matter and beyond, the looks of everything in this world, it would be very confusing. We wouldn't even be able to, I think, function. We wouldn't be able to function as we're supposed to function in this 3D world.
Yes. It's I think it's a planned simulation for a reason, you know. It's like when you have a child, you know. If there is a game for the child, it's not that dangerous because you have to put some checkpoints. You have to, you know, it's very well planned because we are not very advanced souls in the end. I think we're here because we have to learn a lot of stuff. But sometimes I can feel, even if I'm not psychic or I don't hear anything, sometimes I have an outburst of faith. It's really strange. Like, sometimes I just know it's like I can hear a very nice music, or I just know. I don't know if it's God or the divine. It's so powerful. It's nothing else matters, you know. You don't fear anything. it's just so joyful and so, I don't know.
Yeah, wonderful.
So, yeah, I wish when I leave this world, you know, I will have a lot of questions to ask, you know, like, you know,
For sure.
what I supposed to do here, what I was supposed to do here, and what did I did wrong, you know, because sometimes I struggle a lot, you know, to figure out what I should do.
Or maybe you will just see clearly when you have your life review, and if you just see, oh yeah, of course, that's why I did those things.
Yes, it will be obvious, I think.
Yeah. Do you think that we are living in crucial times right now, that there's some kind of awakening happening? Many people are talking about that. Some are more pessimistic and say that, well, it's going to go down the drain first, at least, and then maybe it's going to be better. Can you see this happening? I mean, by seeing how many people are watching your films and talking to you. You mentioned before that it's a little bit easier to talk about these things in France nowadays than. So do you think this is a crucial time in some way?
Yes, I think there is an awakening. I think it's happening faster and faster right now, and time is accelerating also. I think we can all feel it. And it's like, I don't know in English the term, you know, it's like that, and there's going to be a 0 point.
It's accelerating?
Yes, toward towards something.
A singularity, then, or
yes, a singularity, and time is going time is going to reset. But it doesn't mean it's going to be the end of the world. The world will still be here, but it won't be. I don't know how to say it. It will be the same and also very different, and also I don't know. Maybe a lot of things will happen. Maybe wars. Maybe I don't know what is going to happen, because I'm not good at predicting anything. But for sure, it's before 2030, and even I think before that. I think the time is going to reset.
Already around 2030, you think it's going to be something like that?
I don't know. Since I'm a child, so here again, the child. I see, since I'm very little, I thought it was the same for everyone, but I have a timeline in my mind. So when I learn a new history thing or something, I put it on a timeline, but it's always the same. So you have since the Middle Age. So I put the timeline, but it's just for the 20th century, it's not the same, the timeline. It goes like this. And from 1980, it goes down really, really quick. But the timeline is making a huge turning point in my mind around 2026 to 2030. And then it's going up really, really quick. And the turning point is in my mind since at the same place since I was a child. And every year I tell myself, oh, I'm going to experience this turning point. Is there something special here? You know? So I'm curious myself of this timeline.
It's a fascinating thing. The concept of having an inner timeline. I think everybody has that. And I've talked about people about this, and you can have a particular timeline for the week and for the year and things like that, and also for the whole timeline, as you say. And this is kind of a Western thing, I think, to have a linear timeline.
Yes.
Because it's actually, I think time is, to the extent that time exists, it doesn't exist per se. But I mean, we have the impression of time here, because I think that's one of the points of this game, to have the impression that time exists.
Yes.
Because we learn something from it. I tend to think of it as there's inertia, there's a delay here. In the fifth dimension or sixth dimension, I think if you focus, if you concentrate, or if you manifest something within your mind, you have it immediately.
Yes,
which is a natural thing, which is what's the basic natural thing to have. But here there's a delay, so you have to wait for things, you have to work for things, you have to do things to get, which is the game, how it's played. But this thing with the timeline, Yeah, I have some kind of strange timeline within my head or my mind as well. But I was going to ask you, if you see that first little dramatic downturn around 1980. Can you remember? I don't know when you were born, but
85.
What?
80, I was born in 1985.
Okay, so you weren't here then when that first downturn happened, because that was a question. I mean, if you were a little child, you might have remembered that you experienced something that when it went down there. But
no, it's not about. This timeline is not about me at all. It's but maybe I shouldn't talk about it because it's not very scientific, you know.
No, but it's fascinating that you had the same.
I don't know what to say. It's like that, and I know it's going to happen. I just how can I say? I don't know what is going to happen, but I know we're going toward it. You know, there's no way to escape anything. It's like when winter or summer is coming, you know. You just know it's coming because that's the way it is. Summer is coming. So that's it's not about being psychic. And that's the big timeline is the same. We are at the end of a time cycle. That's just the way it is. But after that, there is going to be another time cycle. It's not very complicated. But the hardest thing is to understand what is going to happen. But I think we don't know.
Why don't we hear about this awakening in mainstream media or from politicians or other leading figures?
I don't know. I don't watch a lot of mainstream media anymore because it's kind of a little boring. I'm sorry.
And destructive, perhaps.
Yeah, and destructive, and it's always about fear, and fear is endless. I even for me in my own life, you know, sometimes I have a strong fears, but at some point you say, okay, it's endless. It's a mental fear. It's endless. It's a loop. Just stop. You have the free will to live in your own dark trip, you know, your own misery. You can live in your misery, but it's endless, and it's not real. It's not real in the end.
Could it be that there are powers that have an interest in suppressing the knowledge about, for instance, the afterlife, and that we are able to ascend?
Maybe, but it's useless because you can put people in hypnosis. You know, you can do that with the media, of course. It's happening, of course, but it's short term. It doesn't change anything. It's what is. I was about to say what is coming, but it's not about even what is coming. Who we are, even right now, right here, right now, who we are is not affected by that. It's just a short-term thing. It doesn't change anything. What is about to come will come, and who we are is who we are, and it's just a dream.
I tend to agree. Actually, I'm fairly optimistic when it comes to these things. But I've spoken to people like I've spoken to a very interesting man called James Tunney just some time ago, and he was more worried about the possibility that the AI, for instance, and new technology could actually enslave us.
Yes.
Of course, he also believes that the soul is eternal and all that. But as long as we are living in bodies and on this planet, things like implants in our brain and that kind of thing could keep us in such a low vibration that we would never be able to ascend or to raise our awareness or consciousness on this planet. So, I mean, some people are worried about that. I don't know. I'm not sure.
I really don't know, but that's the beauty of the divine. Also, it's that we had wars, we had all kind of problems in the human history, and yet here we are, still here and hoping and believing. It's maybe it's the human ego right now in this world we want to compete with the divine, you know. We want to say, oh, there is even an expression in the US that is funny, like it's like richer than God, more rich than God, they say sometimes. It's like, okay, imagine God, you only say, okay, well, this man, I'm really good, but this man is better than me, you know, it's richer than me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a dream. We are part of the divine, so it's just we want. I don't know how to say it. There is nothing to fear in the end. I think
there's nothing to fear. Fear is our greatest enemy.
And yes, of course, as you say, people maybe in the coming years we will have many new problems of enslavement or I don't know what. It's possible, but I think it's the time of choosing is now for people. Like it depends on who. When people say it's going to be very hard and dark and it depends on who and what you do.
I think we live in the world that we believe we live in.
Yes,
I truly believe that.
Yes, there is already, and there is going to be it's Dolores Cannon, you know, the woman.
I know. Yes, of course.
She was talking about a split, about two Earths. And that's the idea. I think there is a split happening. So it's reality is not what we think it is. And depending on who you are and your choices and what you do and what you're supposed to do, there is a split happening. So there is no, yeah, I'm lost. In English, it's harder for me, sorry, but it's...
I wish you could say it in French so I could translate, but I don't know enough French to do that.
It's about you, it's about every single one of us, you know. Right now, it's about our choices, not what's happening outside, because there are, in the next few years, maybe I will watch this interview in a few years and say it was completely wrong, but I think in the next few years, there are going to be a lot of things happening. Things are going to change a lot and very deeply. But it doesn't matter. What will matter is what we will do, every single one of us, and how we will be internally. It's like a wave, you know, coming at you. The wave can crush you, or the strength of the wave can help you. It's this kind of idea. So
yeah, or swimming upstream instead of just going with the flow and utilizing
anyway,
the force.
It's happening. So I'm not used to talk about this, you know, like this in English. So I'm looking a lot for my words, but I hope people and you get what I'm trying to.
Yes, of course, and we're all looking forward to more films, more videos from you, talking about these things, explaining these things, and diving into all that we have been talking about today. Not just NDEs, but all things spiritual, and also like we talked about earlier, our history, where we come from, our true ancient origins, and all those things. I'm really looking forward to more productions from you, Anthony.
Yes, and what's important about these videos that people must know is that sometimes, well, very often, I feel that it's not just the me right now that is making them. When I see the end result, you know, and what is that is affecting people, and I can feel it in the video in the end. And sometimes I don't recognize myself, like the Anthony, like the guy, the big boy right now. It's not really me. It's really strange, you know. It's like something is using me.
Oh yeah.
And there is an energy that I can sense after that, and so it's like a channeling, you know. It's.
I think you are channeling, actually. I think maybe we are all channeling when we're in the zone, as it were, and just forget time and just concentrate, just focus on something that we love doing.
Yeah, the higher self is.
So we are vessels for our higher self, which, as you said before, is connected to everybody else and everything else.
Yes, the higher self is the higher self, the divine itself, you know. I don't know, but
Yeah, well, that's maybe for another conversation.
Yes.
Hopefully, we can do this some other time. Also, Anthony, it's been fantastic to talk to you today. And
Thank you for this conversation.
Yeah, well, it's really my pleasure. Your latest film, Renaissance, can it be seen openly, or do we have to, people have to wait to see it for free, and if they want to support your work, maybe they can see it on some platforms today?
Right now, it's on the website Gaia. It's in the US for a few months, and I want to make some changes, some small changes. So I have to shoot some B-rolls, some illustrations, and then next year, we're already in the end of August, so. Well, next year, 2025, it's going to be eventually for free for everyone.
Okay.
And before that, I'm preparing new videos. One is coming out this weekend, another one next month. So you will have a lot of free videos before that. And
so where should people go when they want to see your other work?
My other work.
The best place to go?
My website, anthonychene.com. I think I put also what I do on Gaia. I did a documentary or two documentaries, for them. So we documentary that won't be on YouTube. It's I did it just for Gaia, and it's a way also for me to finance the work I do almost for free on YouTube.
Yeah,
it costs me. People don't realize it, but it costs me quite a lot of money to produce these videos. And so I don't have enough resources to do it alone.
Well, hopefully the universe will provide you with the funds that you need to do all these amazing projects that you have in your mind to do in the future. So thank you so much again, Anthony Chene, for being a guest on Mind the Shift, and continue doing your beautiful work.
Yeah, thank you for your great questions. I hope I wasn't too long or too hard to understand, but you had really great questions, and really I enjoy this kind of thinking and talking. So thank you.
Thank you. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to hit that like button and share the video with your friends. Please support the channel if you can. I appreciate all the support. You can become a Patreon for as little as $1 a month, or you can make a one-off donation via PayPal if you wish. All the links are in the description box below. Thank you.